We build an 18 parlay with every NFL division winner and tell you how you could win $1,000 in just 10 minutes this NFL season. And it all starts right now. What's going on, everyone? It's Matt from Grandstand Bettors, and this is our final part of our 8-part series where we build a parlay with every NFL division winner for the 2022-23 NFL season. And make sure you stick around to the end of the video where we tell you how you could win $1,000 absolutely free this NFL season. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our videos, and smash that like button because it is time to talk about the NFC West. And in last place in the NFC West, we are going to take, with no surprise to probably anyone, the Seattle Seahawks. After a brutal offseason, losing their leader on offense, Russell Wilson, in a trade with the Broncos, and their leader on defense, Bobby Wagner, it looks like the Seahawks are finally in a rebuilding stage. It's a shame, though, especially for their top two wide receivers, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, who are both very good route runners. They put up great numbers with Wilson at quarterback, and it might be a different year this season. Now, they are going to get passes from Geno Smith, who was announced the Week 1 starter just a couple days ago. Their other option, not even that great. Drew Lock, not much better. The team will most likely look for a new franchise quarterback in this year's draft, or maybe in free agency in the offseason. That's a long ways away, though, and we still have a full season of football to get through, and it's going to be, as we mentioned, a long season for the Seahawks. Seahawks, they're going to struggle at quarterback. Their offensive line is not the best, and they lost Chris Carson as well in the offseason with his early retirement from football. Besides Metcalf and Lockett, their offense really has nothing to look forward to, and they might be one of the worst offenses in the league as the season continues, and maybe at the end they might rank 32nd. Defensively, the Seahawks, they have gone from having one of the most elite defenses in the 2010s to now having one of the worst in the league. And last year they were 31st in pass defense, 17th in run defense, and gave up 21.5 points per game. When you throw in the fact that they have the 11th hardest schedule in the NFL and have to play offenses like the Cardinals, 49ers, and Rams all twice, we have a hard time believing that they're going to beat out any team in this division for third place. So, Seahawks fans, you had a great run over the last decade, but your time is definitely up. Now, in third place in the NFC West, we're going to take the Arizona Cardinals. And after a fantastic start to their season last year, the story of this team was injuries and losses, and due to a lack of offensive line, they cost themselves franchise quarterback Kyler Murray a few games last season as he suffered a foot injury in the middle, and they lost J.J. Watt for the season and DeAndre Hopkins for quite a few games, which really hurt them on both sides of the football. Now, this offseason, they lost running back Chase Edmonds to the Dolphins, wide receiver Christian Kirk to the Jags, and left guard Max Garcia to the Giants. On top of that, DeAndre Hopkins has also received a 6-game suspension this offseason for violating the league drug policy, so that really doesn't help anything either. It is clear what this team is capable of when they are actually on the field, but this certainly seems to be an issue for them, and we don't see anything or any of that going away as Watt is nearing the end of his career, and Murray still doesn't have sufficient protection on the offensive line for him. Defensively, they also lost some very good players in edge rusher Chandler Jones, who went to the Raiders, and linebacker Jordan Hicks, who got signed by the Vikings. With how much pass rush they lost this season, that could be a huge problem for their secondary. And with quarterbacks having more time in the pocket, it's actually going to be tough for them to continually cover the field, especially with that young linebacker core they have. Now, this team might surprise us, but it looks like they're hanging on by a thread, and it will be tough to beat out two solid teams on top of the NFC West division, which is disappointing for us because we took Kyler Murray in our dynasty draft a few years back, and it looks like he's not going to pan out how we thought. Now, the runner-up, though, in the NFC West is going to be the San Francisco 49ers, and it's certainly going to be interesting to see how Trey Lance does in his first real season in the NFL, as this team has some very good components, which made them very hard to beat, as we saw last season in a lot of spots. Now, first, this offensive line behind Trent Williams, who is an absolute unit blocking for their run game. They have an extremely proficient offensive line and do a very good job at protecting their quarterbacks. They only let Garoppolo get sacked 29 times last season, and with Trey Lance's ability to extend the pocket, we could see that number actually trending down. And along with an offensive line that has some very good receivers as well, they have Deebo Samuel, George Kittle. They combined for having over 2,300 receiving yards last season and 12 touchdowns. And in addition to those weapons, the 49ers ranked 7th in the NFL in rushing yards per game last season, and things should only improve for them there with Lance's running ability. Another reason they made it to the NFC Conference Championship last season was their defense. They gave up the 3rd least yards per game, their secondary ranked 6th, and their run defense ranked 7th, and they only gave up 21 points per game. Their line, led by Nick Bosa, who had 15.5 sacks last season. They have a very good linebacker as well in Fred Warner, who makes plays all over the field. Very good open tackler as well. So 49ers fans, get excited. Well, the only thing we really can see that might hinder this team would be if Trey Lance just doesn't pan out as an NFL quarterback. Now that leaves us with the 8th and final leg of our parlay here on our divisional parlay. The Los Angeles Rams to win the NFC West division. Rams, as we know, are the reigning Super Bowl champions, and with minimal losses this offseason as well as some great additions, they are in a great position to possibly win back-to-back titles for the first time in the NFL since the Patriots did it in Super Bowl 38 and 39. Now, offensively, the Rams had a very good wide receiver room last season led by Cooper Kupp. Although they did lose Robert Woods and OBJ is still a free agent, they brought in Allen Robinson from Chicago, and Van Jefferson, let's remember, was a solid third option for Stafford last season. In addition to their passing game, the Rams also have Cam Akers back and Darnell Henderson to lead that rushing attack. They only ranked 25th in the NFL season last year in rushes, so this is going to be mostly a point of emphasis in McVay this season to try to limit how one-dimensional they are, because a lot of these teams know that they want to throw the football. But I think if Cam Akers can be there all season long, I think they will be able to be a two-dimensional team. Now, defensively, they did lose Von Miller in free agency to the Bills, and they did sign Bobby Wagner to fill in at outside linebacker. Along with Leonard Floyd, they should have no problem creating pressure off the edge when they need to, maintaining a very good run defense, which they did rank 6th in the league last year. The one problem they had, though, was their pass defense, but they selected 4 defensive backs in this year's draft, and they also processed that trade with the Browns to get Troy Hill back at safety. With a couple of other guys returning from injuries, as well as this defense looks good again on paper because, Aaron Donald's still on that team, so it's going to be tough to run or pass against these guys again. Now, this is by far, though, the best division, or the best team in this division, and we wouldn't be absolutely shocked if they did not win this division for the 4th time in the last 6 years. So we are going to take the Los Angeles Rams to win the NFC West at plus 125. Now, if you're keeping track at home, that gives us all 8 divisional teams for our parlay. We have the Bills, Ravens, Colts, Chargers, Eagles, Packers, Bucks, and Rams, which that would make an 18 parlay plus 266 to 1 odds. That is unreal. We're putting $50 on that parlay, which would pay out over $13,000. And that does it for our divisional previews and parlay, but stay tuned because next week we are going to have our NFL playoff predictions, and we're going to tell you who's going to win the Super Bowl this year. So look for that video to drop real soon. But before we sign off, we promised you how you could win $1,000 in just 10 minutes this NFL season, and the answer is very simple. Head on over to grandstandbettors.com, sign up for our free NFL betting contest Take 30 seconds each week. You just pick 5 games against the spread. And if you're on top of the leaderboard at the end of week 18, you're going to be taking home $1,000. It's as simple as that. The link's in the description. Go do that right now. Sign up because all registrations will close at 1 p.m. on September 11th. As always, though, sit back, relax, get ready for our NFL playoff predictions and eventual Super Bowl champion for the 2022 season, and get excited because we are 8 days away from the start of the NFL season.